Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. So today we wanted to bring you our 3-year review, long-term test and use of the Hercules job site saw. And this came from Harbour Freight. And last I checked, the regular price is still $3.99, which is what it was when we purchased it. And we got a deal with the Inside Track Club, and we actually found this on sale for $3.25. So we think we did pretty well. Let's look at the features. So on this side of the saw, we've got the rip fence. We've got the push stick that came with it. We've got the miter guide that came with it. And then here is the wrench for changing the blade. So that's nice, it's attached right to the saw. And then here is the level that extends the table out if you need it. On the front of the saw, we have the crank that raises the blade. And this saw will cut a 3-inch thick board. We also have the lever that allows you to angle your blade with a guide. Then the feature that's probably the most used that we like the most is this start-stop switch. There's no way you're going to be not deliberate in turning this on. You have to hit basically the bullseye around all this plastic. So you've got basically a 1-inch square area that you've got to hit as a target to turn this saw on. And then to turn it off, if you hit it anywhere on here, it'll turn it off. Like move the blade up just slightly, turn it on, and off. And then the number one rule for us using this saw is we turn it on, make the cut, and immediately turn it off before we set anything else up or remove the board. Let's look at our table extension. So we've got basically a 26.5-inch table, and we've got basically 15.25 from the edge of the blade to the end of the table. So now we can extend it. Now we've got a full 38.5-inch table, and from the blade to the edge of it is 27 and I'm going to say 3/4. Let's look at our rip fence. I'm going to bring the blade up. And because I changed the angle down there, let's check, make sure we've got it still totally straight. Okay, so our rip fence, if I want to cut a 3-inch strip, the first thing I'm going to do is, depending on the size of my board, the thickness of my board, if I want to cut a 1-inch board, I'm going to only put this blade up about 1.5 inches. Because you only need about 1/8 inch of the blade to come through the blade. So I've got more than that. Let's go down to 1.25 inches. Go down to 1.25 inches. That'll be a 1/4 inch beyond our 1-inch board. Okay, so our graph that we've got, here's 3 inches, and that's what I want to cut. There's a red line on that. What we found is this rip fence gauge is as good as any rip fence gauge we've used, but that means also it's not completely 100% accurate. So it goes down and clamp on. Now then, it's very close to 3 inch, but to make sure we get a 3-inch cut, and what I show there is 2 7/8. So we always measure off the blade to the rip fence. There's 3 inches. So our cut, wish this table was steel, it would make filming easier. Okay, so if you can see that, what I see is right to the edge of the carbide tooth is 3 inches. Same there. But if you see that, 3 inches is not quite totally line up with that guide. That is not a big deal to us, and every table saw we've used has been pretty much the same. So we always just measure off the blade when we want it to be exact. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room for this video. This saw comes with a blade guard, and we recommend that you put that blade guard on and use it. We've got years and years of experiences with table saws that didn't have that blade guard, and we honestly feel safe using it without it. But we do not recommend that you or anybody else use a table saw without every bit of safety equipment that comes with it. The saw also comes with a miter guide that goes in the channel so that you can, if you wanted to cut at an angle, it has a little chart there. Again, we recommend that you actually mark your angle and measure it with something more precise than this little guard and guide. But it is a handy tool for cutting multiple boards. We don't use this table saw with this function because we have our chop saw right there, and we use our chop saw for all of the cuts like that. Okay, what we do really like about this rip fence is when you lock it down and measure it and get the thickness that you want. So that's 3 inches. Locks down. It is very secure, and from the front of the blade I've got 3 inches, and from the back of the blade I've got 3 inches. So it goes on nice and true. The rail holds it 90 degrees to the saw blade, which is what's important. The other thing you can check, right, with an angle square. The other thing we check with the angle square, right, the table to the rip fence is 90 degrees. And we've had saws that that's not been the case. So this is pretty nice. The other item that came with the saw is the push stick, and we do use the push stick constantly. Okay, so probably the other two things that we've done is we put it on this table that we just put these brackets on to hold it down to keep from wobbling around, because we don't use it on different job sites. We just use it on this job site. We built this outfeed table that's attached to that. And then we also have our rollers, of course, that we use. Okay, we also have our dust collection hose that is attached to the dust collection box that encloses the blade. And that has worked out pretty well. So our dust collection hoses go down and come over through our extra box there and then to our Harbor Freight central machinery dust collection system that we ran through all of this workshop. Okay, so our final thoughts on the Harbor Freight Hercules job site table saw, which is 10-inch. Comparing this to other job site table saws, you have to look at other 10-inch table saws. This one, again, the list price is $399. The list price, the cheapest 10-inch table saw I can find that was comparable, that's a job site saw, is almost $600. So almost twice the price of this one. And again, we bought this one for $325 in the Inside Track Club, and I think we got a heck of a deal on it. And a lot of the other job site saws that are in the same price range are only 8-inch blades. So again, you know, you're cutting your depth by a considerable amount. Now you can still cut, you know, obviously a 2x flat. You can cut plywood. The interesting point is when we built the cabinets in this house, we did not use this saw. We used a Craig jig panel cutting system to cut those. Obviously this is not a cabinet maker saw, but every other cut that was made that we used a table saw for to build the interior of this house came off of this table saw. We did a rough estimate, and we're positive we've got over 6,000 feet of board cuts on this table saw. And like I said, probably more than that. But we definitely could tell that we had over 6,000 feet just adding up the siding cuts that we made. So your mileage may vary, but 3 years in on this Hercules table saw, this 10-inch job site saw from Harbor Freight, we're loving it. So your mileage may vary, but hope you liked the video. If you get one of these saws, we hope you like it. Have a great day. Be safe. Don't forget to subscribe.